Good morning guys, Chris the Ultimate Recycler. I'm sitting in my workshop and in front of me, which you'll see shortly, is an array of laptops. In this video, we've got to sort out once and for all what we're going to do with old laptops. If you collect e-waste, if you go scrapping, if you pick up stuff off the side of the streets and you grab laptops when you find them, what do you do with them? Are they worth refurbishing? Are they worth anything for parts? Should we just scrap them? These are all the big questions that I have to sort out because I've been toing and froing over the last few days, wasting a lot of time trying to refurbish them. Time is money. Time is important to me at the moment, particularly when we did a quick walk around the shop the other day. You might have seen some crates of old laptops that I've just haven't got back to. Now's the time to work out what might be good money as a collectible, what we can resell as something useful, and that big bracket in between where we'll probably just scrap them. Well, maybe just sell them as they are for scrap. Let's have a look at what I've got here. These are a few I've been working on lately, and I've had some success and I've wasted a lot of time on other ones. Let's start with these Aces. These are a Travelmate, I think 5760 model. I got about 30 of them from a local primary school. They're all in pretty good condition. And I have another stack of Acer laptops. They might be a similar model, they might be a bit older, and there's probably about 50 of them in my shed that I picked up about 12 months ago. You know, as a scrapper, I used to get excited picking up laptops, but I never really sold any. They got put aside, and I've never really sorted out what's the best to do with them. So we're going to try and sort that out in this video. With these ones, I cleaned them up. I took the hard drives out because I have to be careful of people's data, especially from the school. And I put a stack of them in the shop. After checking eBay and finding they didn't really sell for much, put a stack in the shop, about 6 of them at $5 each. Because for scrap price, if I took them to e-waste bin in Melbourne, and you might have people in your area that buy scrap laptops just as they are, I get $1 per kilo. Now, I think I weighed it. It's not quite 2 kilos from memory. So, in fact, I forget. Let's weigh it again. So with or without the battery, $1 a kilo, they're just over 2 kilos. So this particular laptop, about $2 if I took it down to Melbourne, which I wouldn't do a special trip. I would wait until I had a load of scrap metal for the scrapyard. $2 per laptop. If I can get 5, and I did get $5 each for the stack of 6, that's much better than scrap price, and I didn't have to lift a finger. So that's a win, I think. However, I got to thinking, you know, with AI around these days to help us out, how difficult is it for someone that really hasn't done a lot with computers like me to reformat them? So I went down that rabbit hole. I put a hard drive back in because I'd taken all hard drives out. These don't have hard drives in them. And they were 500 gig hard drives. I put them back in and tried to reformat it. And that was a rabbit hole, particularly with these ones from the schools, because they had... Actually, I'll boot one up and show you. Okay, this one booted up. It's a good example. I had to put another hard drive back in. Remember, I'd taken them out. Some of them didn't boot up at all. Some didn't have hard drives. This one does boot up, and it's got an EduStar program. Because they're a Department of Education, you have to log in. Some of them didn't show this. They went to a sort of a desktop, but then they still had some sort of education password. So I couldn't get into any of them. This is through the Education and Early Childhood Development in Victoria, but I guess places all over the world have their own education systems that laptops run from. So I couldn't get any further than that, but it does show that the laptop works, but I could not reformat the hard drive. I tried every trick in the book that AI suggested. You can hold the shift key down and click restart. You can tap F11 as it boots up, all sorts of things. Could not get past get into a recovery where I could reformat. And one of them I managed to, because I'm not sure why, but I think I ran into trouble with, once I did no, I couldn't reformat. The only option that gave me was to download onto a memory stick a new version of Windows, install that. But the problem with doing that is that I don't have... Let's shut this down. I don't need this anymore. We'll just hold this power button down for a bit. The problem with reinstalling Windows onto the hard drive is that I didn't have a product key to activate it, because apparently the Education Department laptops, they don't use a normal product key that that domestic or normal consumer users have. They must be registered in some sort of bulk deal. So I couldn't activate Windows, or it was going to have a pop-up all the time saying it needs to be activated. It just was a nightmare. And to be honest, even I didn't have chargers for them all. I had a few, but even if I had chargers and it was reinstalled Windows and somehow you could activate it, which I haven't worked out if I can, I'm still only going to get, what, $50, maybe $80? Nowhere near worth the time involved. These were, what were these? Windows 7, and they've only got an i3 CPU, so they're not super powerful. After wasting a lot of time on these, I've decided if I can get $5 per laptop through someone that may use parts. I don't know why the first person bought the 6. I didn't make the sale. Perhaps they'll be disappointed when they realise they can't reformat them. But they may use parts. I mean, the screens and everything are okay. The keyboards are pretty good. They're fairly clean. Anyway, if I can get $5, I will. If not, they will go as $1 a kilo for scrap. So that's what I've decided on any school laptop, because they're kind of locked and you cannot reformat them easily. That's the decision I've made there. A couple of others on the bench here. This old HP, it's a Pavilion DV6. It's very clean. It was belonged to a lady in town that just dropped it off as e-waste. It was password locked. I was able to get my way around that and reformat the hard drive, but it took a lot of time. And it's an older HP. I forget what it's got, an AMD CPU, Windows Vista. I do have a power supply for it, and it's nice and clean. So I managed to get that reformatted, but I honestly don't think I'll get much more than $50 for that. So again, it's not worth my time. Next time I get one of those, I'm just going to take, and anything of that era, I'm going to take the hard drive out, take the RAM out, because the RAM's of some value, and basically what I'll do, I'll make a pile in the shop. I'll put $5 a pick for anyone that wants one, but basically they'll end up being scrapped if they don't sell. This other HP is more modern. It's an Envy DV6, and it's very clean. It's running an i7 CPU, so it's more powerful, it's more modern. It has pretty good stats. I think it had 8 gig of RAM in it, a good size hard drive. And again, it was only password locked from a private user. So I was able to reformat that and get it up and running. But it did take quite a long time. You've got to go through a deep clean, and it took hours. And, luckily I had the right charger for it. But you do have to be really careful. And what I think I've decided on these old laptops, if they're too old and there's any issues and you don't have a charger for it, basically straight in the scrap pile. As I said, I will try and get $5 each for most of them at the shop, just in case someone remembers that as their first laptop and they want a screen out of one or something like that. But this one I should be able to sell, and probably worthwhile. When you do your scans and everything, it takes a while. You need to go and do something else. You can't just sit there and watch it. Otherwise, it eats up too much time. I might get 100, 150 for that. It works beautifully. It's nice and clean. It all works well. So that's good. That was a successful story, but I think it's probably my only one. The other end of the scale is you have these older units. This is an IBM ThinkPad that a couple of you guys spotted in my last shop video, or one of my shop videos, and I had 2 messages about it. So it will be sold, and I'm selling it as it is. I don't have a power supply for it to power it up anyway. And if it's got a hard drive in it, well, the person that's buying it does do a lot of tech work, and I'm sure that they'll deal with that data respectfully. That's collectible because it's a bit older. I think it's late 90s or about 2000, and it's old enough. It's running XP Professional, that some people like these older ones for games. I think this is one of the last of the IBMs before ThinkPad became a Lenovo brand or a model name. Anyway, that one has got some value. I'm not sure what price to put on that. I might even pass it on if the subscriber wants to do a video on his channel. And in case you're wondering, that's Hugh Jeffries, who does a lot with tech stuff and phones particularly. He has a very big channel, so I'll put a link underneath. I think he's getting close to 1 million subs, so help him get there. Okay, so we've got older. When they're old enough to be collectible, yes, there's some value. We've got modern when they're modern enough to be useful. Yes, there's some value, unless of course they're locked from such like a school that you can't get into them. And then in between the old and the new, you've got a huge range that are pretty much worthless. I can pull the hard drives out, they're not worth much. I can save the RAM on most of them as long as they're easy to access, because the RAM is worth a lot more than scrap. This one has separate panels, so it would be easy to get the RAM out of that one. The school ones, I'm taking the hard drives out because I've told you, and that one's just hanging in there. I used it to test. But to get the RAM out of these, you've got to take the whole panel off, and there's like 30,000 screws. I'm not going to worry. That can stay in there. So that's where I'm up to with these. I have another stack in the studio. Let's go and have a look at those. Now, while I'm in the studio and coming to this big pile of laptops I just told you about, there's something else that some of you may do, and that's one step further than just selling them as scrap, and that's actually scrapping them out. So that's an option. You can certainly take them apart, get the motherboard out. The motherboards might be $5 a kilo, I'm not sure, but they certainly pay more. But it depends on your time available. If you do it as a hobby, great, that's something else you can do. Then you would be able to get the RAM sticks out of every computer as well. You're left with some little bits and pieces that would probably just go into e-waste. So that's something you can do. I'm not going to worry about that. If I get $1 a kilo and one of them is about $2 and I've got about 100 of them, suddenly that's a fair bit of money. So that's probably the best for me, but everyone has their own different circumstances. Speaking of quantity, let's look at this pile. Yes, this was a school pickup a while ago and it got sort of stacked in the studio here and I just never quite got back to it. So now that I've made some decisions on laptops, it's time to sort them out. These are all, I think these are all Acer, similar models to the one we just looked at. They might be the next model up. They're going to have exactly the same issue. They're nice and clean, but they're going to be locked to the education department programs. There's no product key underneath, so if we do download a new Windows version and try and put it on the hard drive, we won't have a product key to activate it. So all of these, I've got a whole box of chargers as well. The chargers may have some value. I could certainly maybe sell a bulk lot of chargers on eBay. Have to look into that. I haven't checked the price on that. There's certainly lots of wiring if I just scrap them all, but laptop chargers do tend to sell. But all these, there's going to be a fair few kilos in that. They're all the same models. So that's what I'm going to do with all those laptops. I'll take the hard drives out, which will take me a little while to do. They'll be stacked in the shop at $5 each until such time as I'm doing a load to Melbourne. Then they'll be cashed in. And who knows, the cash might be a little bit better than $1 a kilo by the time I get round to it. Looks like we have some UPSs here, some uninterrupted power supplies. I'll scrap those for the batteries. That's a switch. I'll probably just scrap that. The other thing I've discovered, what have we got in here? Heaps of cords and brackets. All right, well that will be easy to sort out. Just a bit of scrap steel and some power cords I can sell. There's another switch. I'll have to check out to see if these are worth anything. I've never really looked into those, but I think they've got a reasonable board in if I do scrap them. This is looks like a bulk power station recharging dock for iPads, perhaps. Speaking of iPads, under this monitor, and the monitor will sell. It's got HDMI input, so that will certainly sell. This is the next disappointment. All of these iPads, various models. I went through this recently with a stack of iPad minis, which I think that one is as well. These will all be activation locked to Apple accounts through the education department, and I've tried every which way, and it's just a shame that they will all go to e-waste. Such a disappointing system where Apple and the schools don't want to, I guess they're protecting these things from being stolen, so that if they're stolen, people can't use them, therefore there's less likelihood of them being stolen. But the secondary market suffers, and there's perfectly good units here. I think there's another box underneath, so I've got probably, there could be 100 of them. And they're not worth anything for scrap because iPads are pretty much, the motherboard on them is virtually non-existent. It's so tiny. You've got a glass screen, you've got behind this cover you've got an aluminium back, there's a bit of plastic, and the rest of them, well, that's 90% of them. There's hardly any electronics in there that makes them worth anything. So they'll have to go to the e-waste crates. I don't know what the company that picks up e-waste does with them, but there's really no value in them in there at all for scrappers. So with that new information that I've learnt in recent times, I can now deal with all this. When I first picked it up, I was excited, thinking I could reformat them all, I could sell secondhand iPads, I could sell laptops. Turns out that was a dream. That wasn't possible. Unless you guys know something, put in the comments if you know of any workarounds. There's some little Acer notepads of some sort. They're from the school. They'll be the same thing. They'll be running a certain education program that I can't get around. So it looks like out of all this, I've just got some wire for the scrapyard. The UPSs will have batteries in them. The switches I might get a reasonable board out of. The laptops will be just, well, you know, we'll get a bit of a return on them. I'd still pick them up again purely on the weight at $1 a kilo. But the real waste, I think, is all the iPads. They will just go, probably leave them in that box and probably take them out to the transfer station here just as they are. That's the raw truth of it. Unfortunately, I'm very disappointed in Apple for not allowing some way of having their products reused in the second-hand market. I've approached the school about deactivating them, and the guy that I spoke to said it just can't be done. Look, it probably can be, but they won't. Like dealing with any department, it's never as easy as what it initially seems to be. So there we go, guys. I'm sharing information that I've found about these things. I'm having a bit of a whinge at the same time. It's my channel. I'm allowed to have a whinge if I like. Let me know in the comments if you know any workarounds on any of this, or what do you do if you find laptops. If they're not from a school, you've got a chance of reformatting them, that's for sure. Larger businesses might present the same trouble. I don't know. Let me know if you've had any dealings with that. It's just such a shame that there's that much e-waste generated that doesn't have to be, because these are all still pretty much in working order. Never used to happen like this, and I think Apple really, well, a lot of the companies really need to lift their game. Anyway, that's enough for me. The good thing about this now is that I can process this pile of stuff that's been sitting here for quite some time, and as you know, with the shop cleanup and everything else going on, I need to make as much space as I can. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.